subscribe and like the video.
Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now.
Dude, this is so funny. Oh my God. Oh my God. I love this. Okay. This is so awesome. Guy who is supposed to be working outside of the confines, who's supposed to undermine for-profit healthcare and like routinely, the guy who's made a name for himself by preaching about how for-profit healthcare and the food industry is like poisoning us, turns around and says, oh, the solution instead of socialized medicine is actually engaging in self-restraint. That is literally just a Republican position, you jackass. Oh, yeah, dude. If you have leukemia as a child, well, you should have thought about perhaps not having it. Thanks, man. Thanks, dude. That's sick. That's sick. That's sick. I can't wait for Republicans to cry about like people making fun of RFK's voice, by the way. That's definitely coming. Republicans will cry foul and claim ableism and complain endlessly as though we don't know the way they operate. You know what I mean?
Taking from the pool. Well, and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country in us says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, is a human right. I'm not hearing you say that. All right. You've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree on this one. As you all know, despite the drug companies making over $100 billion in profits, paying CEOs outrageous compensation packages, we in some cases pay 10 times more for the same drug. Will you support legislation that I will introduce which says that in America we should not be paying a nickel more for prescription drugs than people around the rest of the world? Yes, no?
To equalize it?
Not to equalize it, that we should not be paying more than other countries for the same damn drug.
Like we moved on from Medicare for all to just like, can we get some normalcy in the pay structure? You claim that you want to undermine the pharmaceutical industry. You claim that you want to undermine the pharmaceutical industry. You understandably have presented a genuine problem within the incentive structure of the pharmaceutical industry time and time again. Would you be on board with lowering the profits of the pharmaceutical industry at the behest of the citizens and advocate for more reasonable prices? That this isn't socialized medicine at this point. We've moved past that. We moved past that to like, can we get anything here? And my man still cannot do it. He still can't. Yo, Palestinian activists in Japan want to invite you to their organizing space. If you're down, I can facilitate it for you through Frogan. That would be sick. Yeah. Let's try to figure that out. Man, this guy is still crying, by the way. It's awesome. It's awesome. Let him cry. Talk to me or you're scared, chicken. You're an embarrassment. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Look, a lot of these people just want a helping hand, dude. They just want someone to notice them. They want someone to acknowledge their existence. And when you don't do it, they lose their minds. Talk to me is what he ended up spamming in the chat. Like, that's a sad state of affairs, okay? Understand that for many people, that is what they want. It's sad. Most people that you see online are going through some shit like that. So while they might come across like they're, without a second glance, initially you might think like, oh, well, is this reasonable criticism, or is this like a disagreement of politics or whatever? Many disagreements online, especially in this space, stem from the personal things that individuals are going through. Like that person is just going through it all, and what they need is someone to communicate with them, someone to recognize their existence, right? Beanie like Tim Pool. Yeah. You're terrified of learning. Talk with me, coward. I'll debate your crap. It's reasonable. You're terrified of learning and debating it. There's no feelings. You literally are a cancer. Like, what do you want to debate? That I'm cancer? It's, you know, it's a ridiculous premise. Debate me on why you're cancer. Okay, sure, dude. I'm sorry, chatter. Look, if it was a different time, if I wasn't currently in Japan, okay, Nihon desu. If I was not there right now, if I wasn't here right now, and I had a limited amount of time to cover as many news stories as I can before we move on to the IRL portion, where I will go and work at a maid cafe without even speaking a lick of Japanese, then I would perhaps entertain it because it seems very funny. But unfortunately, today is not the day. Today is not your day.
President Trump has asked me, in fact, I had a meeting with President Trump a week ago where we showed him the charts.
He knows the charts.
We're paying 10 times more from Europe.
That's right.
Afterwards, we're going to go and pet capybara.
And are you going to commit to us that you will end that absurdity?
I think in principle we can. We should end that disparity.
Good. Okay. That's great. All right. I happen to believe that climate change is real, it's an existential threat, and it is a healthcare issue. Donald Trump thinks that it is a hoax originating in China. Question is, in your judgment, is climate change a hoax or is it real, causing devastating problems?
President Trump and I, from the beginning, from our first meeting, agreed to disagree.
The part that I don't understand about like climate change or COVID, like the claims that it's a hoax, is that it's still killing people. You know what I mean? You can just deny it. You can just close your eyes and plug your ears and go, da 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 da. I can't hear you. But like, no, it's not. Islam is killing people. Okay, man. I guess Sober Paladin is the type of dude who is the target audience for this kind of stuff, where they are so invested in like the wrong narrative no matter what. Something could hit them in the face and they'd be like, you know who would hit me in the face? Actually, Islam.
On that issue, I believe climate change is existential. My job is to make Americans healthy again.
All right, you believe that you disagree with Trump. You don't think climate change is a hoax, is what I'm hearing.
My job here is to make
I'm just asking you that,
Americans healthy.
Mr. Kennedy, not a trick question.
I answered your question, Senator Sanders.
Okay, you disagree with the president on that.
I answered your question.
Okay. I'm going to pick up on a point that Senator Hasan made. Look, there is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right. All right, let me do a last question because I'm running out of time. I think the gist of what you're trying to say today is you're really pro-vaccine, you want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand.
I saw this. This one is incredible. Look at that. Look at the RFK merch. These people, the transgenders, are grooming your children, but also I want to groom them into not using vaccines.
And that on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now, you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
Yeah, that was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can.
No. That was the old me, Senator. Why is he more upset about the baby onesies, the anti-vaxxer baby onesies, than like, I don't know, when Bennett was cooking him about how like African AIDS is is a different kind of AIDS than the AIDS you see in the Western world. Like, these people have grilled him on a bunch of things that are totally valid to grill him on. Okay. And he just kind of sat there and took it. This is the first time he's like genuinely launched a defense. He's like, no, that was not me. The onesie is a bridge too far, Senator. I would never. Some lines you don't cross. Enraged moms are his biggest risk. Yeah, except those moms love him. Like, they don't, you know what I mean? They don't care. Yeah.
Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you
are you a supporter of these onesies, dude? Wild line of questioning. I mean, I get what he's trying to do. The reason why he's pointing to that is because the organization that he funded, that is an anti-vaxxer organization, is like selling anti-vaxxer onesies, which very clearly is like, the goal of this is obviously to just, get as many clips as possible, right? They're clip farming. But he's gonna, actually, I don't know if he'll get, this is the one guy that I don't know if even Republicans will be down for. Like, in some ways, he'll probably still get confirmed. Doesn't matter. But I mean, he's such a freak, dude. He's such a freak. And like, the American military's output at the end of the day is still violent, right? The American military's output at the end of the day is still violent. So having a violent guy like Pete Hegseth in charge of it, even if he's incompetent, is not going to change the direction of the Department of Defense. Whereas RFK not only is a kook, but he will dramatically undermine any kind of health initiative to a degree that even Capitol owners might be upset with. Does that make sense? That's why I'm saying, like, it's a little 97-2. Only Sanders and Warren against. RFK Jr. is more popular than Trump, I think. No, they got him in check. He's reading from the Capitol owner playbook. That's true. He is doing the whole, like, I would never undermine Capitol owners. I would never undermine the profit sector, the profit-seeking initiatives that the healthcare sector engages in. Obviously, he's doing the thing that he's supposed to be doing. Pete Hegseth at Ozon Polymarket were at 95%. RFK Jr. is at 77%. These have been fairly accurate, unfortunately. Well, notice how RFK Jr.'s percentages is lower than Pete Hegseth. That's what I'm implying. That's the point I'm trying to make, which is that, like, this man is, at least for the agency that he is going to be heading, Health and Human Services, is a more dire threat than Pete Hegseth is to the Department of Defense, despite being incompetent and having no background in managing anyone, let alone the second largest governing organization, the second largest hiring body in the country. Okay? That is the Department of Defense, the second largest hiring body in the country. Pete Hegseth is ridiculous as a choice there, but still, albeit still incredibly damaging to this institution, nowhere near as damaging as RFK Jr. if he is allowed to do what he wants to do at the Health and Human Services Department.
Tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin my questions, I'd like to start by entering into the record a letter the committee received from Ambassador Carolyn Kennedy outlining what she believes is Mr. Kennedy's lack of personal fitness for the office.
Without objection.
Mr. Kennedy, you have spent years pushing conflicting stories about vaccines. You say one thing and then you say another. In your testimony today under oath, you denied that you were anti-vaccine. But during a podcast interview in July of 2023, you said, quote, "No vaccine is safe and effective." In your testimony today, in order to...
What is happening? What is this? Darth Vader? Wait, is that him? Oh my God, is that him breathing? Oh my God, this person is the face of American health. This person is the face of American health. This person is leading the Make America Healthy Again initiative. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. It's yet another fantastic instance of ideology transcending optics. Americans are very optics focused, and Americans are at the mercy of what they see. They respond to shapes, colors, and sizes with regular frequency. Having said that, this instance goes beyond that, where the optics alone show that this is not a beacon of health or prosperity. And yet Americans are so ideologically invested in this project that they literally think like, no, he is a beacon of health and prosperity, actually, despite the fact that he is a visibly sick man. Pretty crazy.
Prove you're not anti-vax, you note that all your kids are vaccinated. But in a podcast in 2020, you said, and I quote, you would do anything, pay anything to go back in time and not vaccinate your kids. Mr. Kennedy, all of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective, and I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right, so
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden, so bringing this up right now is dishonest.
let's be clear about what you've actually done then, since you want to deny your statements. For example, you have a history of trying to take vaccines away from people. In May of 2021, you petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to not only block Americans from having access to the COVID vaccine, but to prevent any future access to the life-saving vaccine. Are you denying that? Your name is on the petition.
We brought that petition after CDC recommended the COVID vaccine without any scientific basis or 6-year-old children. Most experts agree today, even the people who did it back then, that COVID vaccines are inappropriate for 6-year-old children who basically have a zero risk from COVID. That's why I brought that lawsuit. I don't want to. I want to.
Is this the fucked up voice Olympics? I mean, he's just. It's crazy to hear the death rattle by a dude who traffics in so many anti-medicine conspiracies. I don't know how to. Like, it's just too. The irony is too much. Crazy.
Mr. Kennedy, the facts.
The committee will be in order. And to the audience. Hold on for a second, Mr. Kennedy. To the audience. Comments from the audience are inappropriate and out of order. And if there are any further disruptions, the committee will recess until the police can restore order. Please follow the rules of the committee. Mr. Kennedy, you may proceed.
I also want to point out that your recitation of what happened in Samoa is absolutely wrong, and you know it's wrong, and you know it's wrong.
We'll get to that in a moment. Right now, we're talking about the petition that you filed to block Americans from having access to the vaccine and to prevent any future access to the vaccine. Those facts are on the record. My third question to you is, you made almost $5 million from book deals, mostly promoting junk science. In 2021, in a book called The Measles Book, you wrote that parents had been, quote, misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease and that measles vaccines are necessary, safe, and effective. The reality is measles are in fact deadly and highly contagious, something that you should have learned after your lies contributed to the deaths of 83 people, most of them children, in a measles outbreak in Samoa. So my question here is, Mr. Kennedy, is measles deadly, yes or no?
The death rate from measles historically in this country in 1963, the year before the introduction of the vaccine, was 1 in 10,000. Let me explain what happened in Samoa. In Samoa in 2017 or 2015, there were 2 kids who died following the MMR vaccine. And the vaccination rates in Samoa dropped precipitously from about 63% to the mid-30s, so they've never been very high. And in 2018, 2 more kids died following the MMR vaccine, and the government of Samoa—
Would you work out with RFK? Yes.
—banned the MMR vaccine. I arrived a year later when vaccination rates were already below any previous level. I went there, nothing to do with vaccines. I went there to introduce a medical informatics system that would digitalize records in Samoa and make health delivery much more efficient. I never gave any public statement about vaccines. You cannot find a single Samoan who will say, I didn't get a vaccine because of Bobby Kennedy. I went in June of 2019. The measles outbreak started in August. Oh, clearly I had nothing to do with the measles. Not only that,
Mr. Kennedy,
Senator, not only that, if you let me finish, Senator.
You have had some time.
If you let me finish, Senator, if you let me finish, there are 83 people died when the tissue samples were sent to New Zealand. Most of those people did not have measles. We don't know what was killing them. The same outbreak occurred in Tonga and Fiji, and no extra people died. There were 7 measles outbreaks in the 13 years prior to my arrival.
I just would like to get my time back. The nominee wrote a book saying that people had been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. He's trying now to play down his role in Samoa. That's not what the parents say. That's not what Governor Green says. It's time to make sure that we blow the whistle on actually what your views are. At least we're starting.
We need to move
Senator,
on.
I support the measles vaccine. I support the polio vaccine. I will do nothing as HHS secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking either of those
Anybody
vaccines.
who believes that ought to look at the measles book you wrote saying parents have been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. That's not true.
We need to move on. Senator Grassley.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You said—
Okay, well, like, the thing is, Bernie did this too, right? Bernie was talking about this as well. Also, here's a. I told you, Libs of TikTok is very upset. Libs of TikTok is very upset that people are making fun of RFK Jr.'s voice.
I am an anti-vaxxer, and I didn't kill 83 Samoans because I didn't want them to get the measles vaccine.
Yeah, dark woke is real. Dark woke is rising. The libtards are back, and they're triggering the Republicans. Look at the replies. There's a guy who agrees with making fun of his voice, and he's getting grilled. Yeah, I mean, conservatives are the most annoying little cancel culture warriors of all time. Please understand, chatters. They've always been this way, and they will always be this way. Okay, I don't find it funny at all. It's okay. That's a universal principle that is held by the same people on the left and the right. That transcends political boundaries. Conservatives oftentimes do it in a very cynical and very hypocritical fashion. I suspect that liberals, on the other hand, radlibs especially, are at the very least earnest. Like, they are equal opportunity annoying.
President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not going
what?
to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what.
Like, I think asking him direct questions about whether he will work to undercut the profit incentives of the healthcare industry is a more reasonable line of question. I don't think he's going to get money from the healthcare industry. I mean, that's crazy. They ain't giving him no money. Bro doesn't even money from the healthcare industry. Bro doesn't even use medicine. He's so anti-healthcare industry that he's anti-health. Okay, he's anti-medicine.
I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with, and I think you're right on this.
I don't
question.
think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going. You're right, because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our number one health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something, because you're making me sound like a shill. I put together that case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court.
Mr. Kennedy,
hearing.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
Yeah,
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're secretary and for 4 years after. It's just...
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint
I
people
don't
to the
understand
CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As
fought
Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno.
I'm going to give Elizabeth Warren all the credit in the world. That was an incredible line of questioning. Respect where respect is due. This, Lena Khan, there are times when Elizabeth Warren shines, cooks. She did an incredible job there. Okay? He didn't say it, holy shit. No, it is an incredible job. The reason why it's an incredible job is because the angle of attack in terms of conflict of interest is very clear in one direction. No, don't say meh. I'm serious. The angle of attack for conflict of interest is so clear that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. unironically has utilized it to talk about the indecent nature and the revolving door between these agencies that Health and Human Services is tasked, these agencies that are under the umbrella of the Health and Human Services, and the people that are tasked with regulating these industries that end up making money off of their tenure at these agencies. On the other side, however, there is also a tremendous amount of money to be made. And the money angle is part of the reason why these guys actually get to present themselves as honest brokers, right? They showcase how much money is to be made when you go and work at one of these agencies, get out of the agency, and then go and work for any number of different companies that you were tasked with regulating. Okay. I have never really heard someone hit the inverse of that, especially in a situation like this. And I know that for all the idiots out there who are RFK Jr. supporters unconditionally, they will not understand the message that Elizabeth Warren was portraying. Okay. But RFK Jr. in that vein is no different than the average government bureaucrat that goes and works for the same agencies, same industries that he was, same companies that he was tasked with regulating after their tenure is done in government. Okay? That is precisely what she exposed here. I'm stupid. Can you explain how they make money off lawsuits? Well, it's not often successful, but given that vaccines do have a tendency or not vaccines, but just like any kind of medication has side effects, right? So people can go and try to sue manufacturers and providers, and in that process win trials if they do end up winning for any reason, for any number of different reasons. RFK Jr. gets a percentage of that, okay? RFK Jr. gets a percentage of the trial awards if he is the one who is. Bro's so mad Trump won. Yeah, dude, I'm so mad. You got me, bro. It'll never not be funny the way that conservatives can't enjoy their own victories. You know what I mean? They too recognize, in my opinion, the hollow nature of this victory, and they too also understand that this victory does not necessarily mean a promising future for them. So for that reason, they have to derive joy out of like humiliating their opponents or something. And even if someone like myself is not showcasing that attitude, they'll just simply fantasize it. Like, you can see it. Do I look like I'm sad? Do I look like I'm upset? No, I know I'm angry at times. And the reason why I'm angry is because of things that will impact you too, whether you are conservative or not. Okay. But I think you understand what Asmund Gold in the Shadow celebrating that Trump is doing. They're very happy, actually. I know, but it's not just happiness. It's not like they're not happy because, oh my God, America's finally going to prosper. I mean, I'm sure some people do believe that, and they'll learn a valuable lesson, albeit far too late. Okay. But their happiness also comes from dominating their enemies, dominating people that they've perceived as opponents. That's why Republicans can't just like simply sit around and be like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, we won. Now, here is Trump's legislative agenda that is going to materially improve my life. Conservative politics, reactionary politics rarely ever works to materially improve the lives of the people that voted for it. It actually works to make them feel like their lives have been improved because their enemies, their perceived enemies, no matter how marginalized, no matter how insignificant or inconsequential they might be in their lives, in the lives of these conservatives, are being dominated, humiliated, owned. Okay? They present these people as like the real dominating forces of society that are responsible for why their lives are shitty. Okay? It's the liberal elite. It is the Starbucks barista, the queer Starbucks barista. It is the undocumented migrant working to pick strawberries at a field. Those are the people that are dominating their lives, you know? It's stupid. Like, if my choice of politician actually won, and this is not the Democratic Party, of course. Rarely is there a politician that I would align with within the confines of the Democratic Party. But if, let's say, Bernie Sanders wins, I'm excited for the agenda that improves the lives of every single American, because I understand that Medicare for all would lead to significant prosperity and a significant improvement in the material conditions of all Americans, regardless of their color, creed, background, ideology, partisan expressions. It doesn't matter. I can say that. I can say that I would be excited at the prospect of a politician doing that for people. That is something that is tangible policy that I can associate with, that I find, that I consider to be a genuine good, right? I don't think Republicans can do that without like talking about harming others. What real policy position can Republicans point to say that? Undocumented migrants are going to finally be deported from this country? Is that what it is? That's truly going to improve your life? I don't think so. It makes me think of the Asmund clip of him saying he will auto vote against someone offering something as a demographic that doesn't belong to me. He has zero interest in actually voting for what might benefit him and his loved ones. He only cares about voting against others, getting something good. Yeah. Because American politics is so hollowed out that like the only expression of partisanship comes on the boundaries of dominating your opponents, dominating the other team, dominating perceived enemies. That's it. It's the politics of permanent cynics. It's the politics of nihilism. There is no hope because what could you hope for? What has either party ever offered you, right? The Democrats, when they offer things that are so marginal that are maybe even take years to comprehend. Okay. People also consistently consider it a zero-sum game, which is wrong anyway. What is this? I find it interesting when people think spreading awareness doesn't help at all. I completely disagree. Every revolutionary movement began with influence. Every powerful being was influenced at some point. Every powerful being was influenced at some point in their lives. Influence changes everything. I know I can't change the world, but I know I can ignite a soul that will. God damn, Connie. Holy shit. You didn't have to spit so hard. Jesus Christ. No notes. Yeah, Connie is amazing. She's great. He's rich. Why does he care if marginalized are helped? That's what I don't understand. That's the other thing that I don't understand. If you are so fortunate, as I am, as is Asmongold, like, many of the things that we talk about in the political arena do not immediately impact us at all. Exactly. Movements don't come from God. They come from people. So I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. Attention. You said clout can't be bought. It's called being able to empathize without being directly impacted yourself. There's also a selfish argument that I can make for these types of attitudes that people demonstrate too, though. The selfish argument that I can make at the behest of like a socialist vision is very clear. Okay, it's about maximizing the potential of all people. I do not operate off of the false assumption that like people born into poverty and born into horrible conditions are just automatically bad and have no potential to do amazing things across the board. I think that clearing hurdles in front of them will benefit everyone, okay? Because you never know. You simply do not know who is the next, like, cancer research guy. You don't know what community he's going to come from. So the entire point is, the entire goal is to max out every single person's potential. And the way to do that is through redistributive policies. Wait, dude, use that logic with you and Trump and not Republicans. He's rich. Why should he care? March, haha, I will be there too. He just forgot to tag me. Haha, we joke around like that all the time. Oh my God. I'm sorry, March. I forgot. I've made a grave mistake and forgot to tag Marchy Poo. There you go. Clarified it. They're shaking his Gurga, shaking my head. Why is it so hard for conservatives to understand that less poverty and ignorance means less crime, less pandemics? Well, they're also, yeah, by reducing the poverty levels and economic burdens of your neighbors, your community becomes safer as a result, even if you don't directly benefit from welfare programs. Exactly. All right, let's see what Squeaks had to say.
Wait, that's Asmongold? I've never seen him outside of his room.
Or they tried not to even make eye contact with me. I asked where the bathroom was. They didn't even want to tell me that.
Do you have your tail on?
No.
Oh, okay.
Take it off. I had to take it off. I had to get...
Fuck that guy? Yeah. No drama. I'm not afraid to say it. He's a idiot. I just can't stand that guy.
Lock the door immediately.
God damn, Squeeze. You didn't have to go that hard, man. He said, that guy? Yeah. Other Squeeze clip is great.
Kids how to be gay.
Oh, yeah. This...
I couldn't pause fast enough. Sorry. I couldn't pass. I tried to pause fast enough before he said some stupid shit. I couldn't. Oh, I tried so hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, no.
Gay now instead of math.
So we have...
Asman responded to my suggestion of allowing some undocumented immigrant citizenship. His response would be rewarding bad behavior. That's amazing. Can these guys ever explain to me why it's bad behavior aside from just saying, well, it's the rules? Okay, what if we change the rules? Like you can't say, well, that's the rule while the conversation is surrounding on whether or not we should change the rule. Right? Like you can't do that. You can't be like, well, that's the rule. Rules are rules. When we're having an argument about whether that rule should exist or not, you have to make a separate argument. You have to explain why the rule must be maintained. You can't simply point to the existence of the rule to say it should exist. Okay? That's ridiculous. You have to explain, because I'm not anti-rule by theory or practice. I'm not anti-rule by ideology. I think that there are obviously good rules For example, age of consent. That's a good rule, okay? Very good rule, as a matter of fact, despite the fact that people want to lower the age of consent. I think that would be bad, okay? I can explain to you why that is a good rule. Here, I'll do it. I won't just say age of consent being 18 is a good rule and rules are rules. Please don't violate them. I will tell you why it's a good rule. Because people's brains do not develop completely until the age of 25, and especially despite the very different time frames that people develop their brains due to a multitude of different factors, and especially their social setting, their circumstances, their material conditions whatsoever. 18 is a fairly decent number that we have arrived at. Okay, we've arrived at a decent number. Okay, it's not the best number, it's not the perfect number. Unfortunately, no number is perfect, but 18 is an understandable number to arrive at. Okay, because anything below that number, you are so malleable and so easy to persuade that understandably people that are older than you can automatically groom you, manipulate you, and make you do things that you otherwise would not be happy to do so if you had clear mind. Okay, so that's an understandable rule. That's why I think the rule should exist. Okay, because there would be too much harm. Okay, there would be too much harm done to young people if that rule went away. Okay, that's an example of explaining why a rule should exist. Now, if we're having a conversation about crossing an imaginary boundary, the border, okay, you have to explain why this rule should exist. Republicans can't really do that aside from lying. In order for, they can't really do that other than just saying, well, it's the rule. It exists for a reason. And then I'm like, what's the reason? And they go, well, you want everyone to come into the country? I guess you want everyone to come into the country without no background checks whatsoever. I'm like, no, I want background checks. I think that's perfectly valid and perfectly reasonable. Okay. And then they're like, oh, well, it's a rule. It's because they're all rapists and murderers. It's like, they're not. Okay. I don't want rapists and murderers to be able to come into the country. Okay. I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. Okay. And that would actually be dealt with if we had proper processing and proper vetting and ease of access into the country. Okay. And that the fact that we don't have that process right now probably does let in people without any sort of proper background check anyway. It's just simply something that I don't understand. The only way that Republicans advocate for these white nativist immigration policies is by either saying that this is just the rule and it should exist and you can't violate the rule without ever explaining why that rule should exist in the first place, or maybe not, or defend against abolishing this rule, or they just make up a bunch of insane nonsense. There are a lot of theories on law: positivism, natural law, legal realism, all inform, and no one really agrees. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Explain to me why the restrictive border policies must be maintained without lying in a racist fashion and engaging in hysterics about undocumented migrants that you are perceiving as like being bad, not because they cross the border, but because once they do cross the border, they do a lot of crimes. Because that's the argument. That's the argument that Republicans present. Hondurans and Guatemalans and people from Chile, Venezuela, Congo, Rwanda, China, Thailand, wherever they're coming from, the Middle East, wherever these people are coming from, they're actually coming in to do crimes. That's the argument that Republicans present. That's the underlying premise as to why they must maintain a stricter border and dominate all of these people that have been living on U.S. soil for almost a decade, right? That is the argument. They claim falsely that these guys are all coming into the United States to do crimes. When asked this question, when they're forced to admit what kind of crimes they're doing, or when faced with the empirical evidence that actually shows that they're wrong, right? Because undocumented migrants are responsible for lower crime rate per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens, significantly lower, they turn around and say either A, well, what if they're actually doing crimes and no one is logging it? B, what if they're actually doing crimes but the woke police departments are refusing to prosecute them because they're woke? Or C, the crime that they're committing is crossing the border.